Hey there, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Jamie, and we're your co-hosts for Two Clicks in a Pod.
Join us as we explore our missed times, stories, and memories due to divorce and 1,000-mile separation.
I can't wait. You ready to get into it, Kev?
I am. Hey, Jamie, you think they're going to swear?
Oh, yeah. Consider yourselves warned. All right. It's a little weird. I am in the old Two Clicks Pod recording studio here by myself today. So Dad and I are mixing things up a bit in recognition of our Two Clicks 1-year anniversary. Last year on July the 8th, we launched the first of what would total 31 episodes in our first year. For our remaining episodes this month, Dad and I decided to each record an episode of our own. We are going to use the time to reflect and share what we have each learned or taken away from the past year. And for this episode, you get me, Click 2. Now, I did want to share that this was, in fact, my idea because I think, as many of the listeners will know, I like the idea of self-reflection. And while self-reflection for me often comes from periods of stress or feeling failure, I'm very excited to reflect on our first year of Two Clicks, as it is something I am immensely proud of. When thinking about exactly how I would organize this reflection for a podcast episode, I had a few ideas, but I kept coming back to something that I learned from Dad. For our long-term listeners, or as they call you in the podcast world, super fans, you may remember that in episode 8, Eastbound and Down, Dad shared with me a story from the period of my life where my brother Shane and I left Texas to move to Atlanta. So if you haven't listened to the episode, I highly encourage you to go back and check it out. It's a good one. But let me go back. I digress a little bit. Here's a little background from that episode. So who would become my future stepdad, Stu, earned a new job. And with that meant a move to Atlanta, Georgia. Around that same time, he and my mom got married. And so it was not just Stu moving to Atlanta, but Mom, Shane, and I. I was 5 years old when we made this move. And at that point, Mom and Dad had been divorced for about 3 years. I think it's important to note, again, that I don't really remember these events. I don't really remember this point in my life. My memories have been forged from the stories I've heard and the memories of others, the things that I've listened to. So anyways, back to what I learned in episode 8. Dad shared that for our drive to Atlanta, he recorded himself on a cassette tape. And this tape was meant to bring Shane and I words of comfort, encouragement, love, a reminder of Dad that we were leaving behind. And I don't remember the tape. I didn't even know there was a tape. I don't remember the words he said. And a big part of me, I think, is grateful to not fully remember, as I'm sure the emotions I had at that time were incredibly sad, especially for a 5-year-old. So maybe that's a good thing. But this story became a new memory. It's one of the many acts of love that I've learned about from my father while recording the Two Clicks podcast. So with that, Dad, I thought for my episode, for my moment of self-reflection on our past year together, I wanted to make a tape for you. And it's funny I'm calling it a tape because you commonly refer to us recording an episode as taping an episode. And I just always love that. It makes me laugh. I made some notes, so I'm going to reflect back as I talk here to you, but I just want to start it off by saying that I just hope that I can, even on some level, in a small amount, articulate to you what this experience has meant to me. So over the last year, I can honestly say that I've learned so much about you. And a part of me, when we started this, kind of wondered how much I would learn. You know, it's like I knew there were things I didn't know, but I really wondered if I didn't really know you, you know? And I think I did. I know I do. but I really did learn a lot about you. And a lot of that obviously comes from these stories that we've shared, these moments in time. And not that some of that is ununique to other people. You know, there's lots of kids, obviously, that weren't alive when their dad was going to grade school and that weren't around when they were in college and their formative adult years. So that's nothing new. But what we have talked about, what really wanted us to have this podcast to share these things, was that what was unique to us is that we weren't together on a daily basis to share these stories that I feel like, having kids of my own now, just come up organically. You know, you see something and you say like, oh guys, that reminds me when I was a kid, I used to do that. And we didn't have a lot of that. So the stories that you shared, I truly feel like I definitely have learned so much more about you. But I think what I've learned that's the most important to me, and I think, again, unique to us, is that I consider myself very lucky to have a dad who is willing to be real, that was prepared and open to share the good, the bad, the ugly, the embarrassing, the maybe you feel not appropriate to share with your child. I don't know, but I have loved just how open and honest and transparent that we have been with each other. Um, because it's by you being that way that I feel, hearing these stories, like, it makes it even more real to learn who you are as a person. So I feel like I got to listen and almost watch, right? Like, words are so powerful, they paint pictures. So I feel like it's almost like I was watching Kevin McClintick through his evolution, you know, young boy to the disciplined teenager, so opposite of myself. I guess in some ways, not always, to the adventurous college student that became the young husband and father turned entrepreneur, now friend and grandfather. How you have evolved and changed over time has been so incredible to hear and listen, and at times, now that I'm here, to watch. Um, and it's really been something that I admire, again, just your honesty with yourself and with life and who you want to be, and being comfortable and seeing that that person has in fact changed. And change, I think, is a very good thing. um when we started talking about this endeavor, and I call it an endeavor because it absolutely has been one, I will admit I didn't know how this would turn out. And I guess I still kind of don't know how it's going to turn out. And that was okay, because I was just so excited to be doing something new, something I was interested in, something that was, honestly, for me, something I was doing for myself, even though we were doing that together. And in this case, that unknown was really exciting. When we first met Kelsey, that was one of the things that she asked of us. She said, what do you want to get out of this? And we both said, I think we both said, if that we wanted to have fun, shocker. And we wanted to reach others that may have their own struggles with family or friends or whatever relationship, and knowing what we had been through, the highs, the lows of our relationship, that maybe by sharing our stories, people would feel like, well, hope is not lost. Like, I can still forge a great relationship with my father or my mother or my sister or my estranged friend, and forge those back to what they used to be. So that was something we wanted to do. And, we also wanted to I host a successful podcast. And success can be measured in so many ways. And while maybe we could say we've done really well in some areas and maybe not so great in others, I still feel like I need you to know that I count this last year as a success, and that I've had a lot of fun. I think we have touched a lot of people. And I think we are hosting a successful podcast in that we have fulfilled those other two elements. And I think that's important. Um, before I dive in to how I'm going to break this down for you, I just wanted to share again that one of the beautiful things about this past year with you has been just learning that what we have always felt to be true, that we had so many similarities, this kindred spirit, this connection, that while, every parent loves every child, you feel like you are more like us, one child maybe. I mean, I kind of feel that way. And I feel like for you and I, we have often spoke of that, how similar we are. And it's been kind of fun to just, again, hearing through your stories and all of that, just how similar we really are. So a couple things that I've learned about you specifically that I wanted to note is that I would say you are a person who is willing to take risk. And I would say the same for myself. I noted it in a couple of different phases of your life, starting back to high school when you decided to run for student council. The kind of shy, not most popular kid at the school, but still willing to put yourself out there and take that risk. I thought that was new. I didn't know that. You in college then decided to go home to visit your family, and without a ride and without a car, you decided you were going to hitchhike from Blacksburg all the way back to Williamsburg, Virginia. And again, I just never knew that, and how ballsy that is. Maybe back then not as much, but like today, one, I would kill my child if they ever hitchhike, and I think you would kill them too. But learning that was pretty awesome. When you decided to learn to ride a motorcycle, um, when you decided to start your own business, all of these things are, to me, acts showing that you're a risk taker. You're willing to put yourself out there to get to where you want to be, or what you want to have, or what you want to do. And I think that's awesome. And I think that's something to be very proud of. Another thing I will say is you are definitely a thinker. You like to think about things. You are willing to go deep in conversation on any topic and share what you know and listen to what other people know. I think that's one of the things I've noticed about you more so lately, um, is just, again, your willingness to share. But I really feel like you have evolved to a person that is a great listener. I feel like I can have a conversation with you where I know what I'm about to say you don't agree with, and you don't try to convince me I'm wrong, and you don't try to change my mind. You listen to me. And I think while there's definitely probably times where you still don't necessarily agree with me, there are times too where I think you think like, never thought of it that way. So you are definitely a thinker and someone willing to listen and share, and you have a lot of ideas. You are definitely an ideas person. So I feel like when we meet to talk about the pod, you have no problem. You have all kinds of ideas, and they're coming fast, and it's fun to watch your brain go, and it's fun to listen to you talk, and it's fun to listen to you think. One of the things that I take away and I have noted about you is how you were willing to put in the work to better yourself and repair relationships. And you and I have been through several moments of our lives together, moments of time, um, what did we call them in one of the episodes? Explosive moments. And I'll speak to myself because that's what I know, but big emotions, big fights, big feelings, um, points where I've probably walked away feeling like this is just not we can't repair this. We can't get back to what we were. And we did. And whether that's because we both needed time or we both have the ability to listen and forgive, I think that's it. I think that's one of the things we share, that we're very quick to react and we're very quick to speak and to argue and to explode. But I think we're also very easy to forgive. And I've watched you over the last, God, 15, 20 years of our life together just change so much in that regard, that I really think you are a person that wants to be successful in your relationships and wants to show the people that you love how much you care for them. And it's not to say you always do it perfectly, because we're human, and in that we are imperfect. But what I do see always is your commitment to try and to show your love and your devotion to those in your life. And ultimately, I just, after, not that I didn't already know this, but after a year of how much time we spent together, not just sharing these stories for everybody to listen to in the pod, but us having meetings to talk about it, to prepare for it, to tell each other what we think we're doing good, and what we could do better, and all of that. Like, I feel so grateful for the time that I've had with you, and this act of creating this show, and continuing to put forth the effort to make this show possible. One of the other things I wanted to share with you is that I count as a success for this year, for this show, for us, is, sorry, I had to get a sip of my tea. All this talking, my God, it's weird not having you here and being able to have you give me a pause. The other thing is, I'm very grateful for what we called our our self-titled therapy, and what you gave to me through those conversations. I've had the ability to talk through and work out some long-standing thoughts, concerns, emotions, pain that I've probably held on to for a very long time. And while I greatly, greatly appreciate the opportunity to learn more about you, I have to admit, I'm equally grateful for how I think this process, this year, this time has allowed me to learn more about myself and work through a lot of things for myself. There's times where I've wondered, now that I'm a parent, what it was like for you when I was sharing these stories. I don't know how many parent-child relationship out there um, are as open and transparent as we have been through this last year. How many dads sit there and listen to their daughter tell them about how old they were when they lost their virginity? How many sit around and listen to their child express the challenges that they're having, the fears that I've been living with, the issues I've been trying to work through, the self-doubt that I carry. I mean, all of these things I put there to you. And I would think as a parent that may have been really hard. So I just really want to say thank you for listening and not trying to judge me in any way, as I'm sitting here talking to you about how I handled other romantic relationships, how I was experimenting with drugs and alcohol at a young age, how I took challenges from my teen years into college. I mean, all of that stuff you listen to, and being that you are still my dad, you just used it as an opportunity to learn more about me and did so without judgment. And I'm really grateful for that. And I'm glad that now I really feel like I'm an open book to you, and you know it all. You definitely know it all. I don't think there's much I haven't shared at this point. I will say though, in terms of what I take away from this experience for myself, you know, it it's hard to listen to yourself talk. And as you know, I go in and pre-edit these episodes. And when I'm doing that, listening to myself talk and either communicate with you, or when we have guests on here, I communicate with them. Oh, Dad, it can be so painful. And I just appreciate you for uh, letting me be who I am. Because I got to tell you, if you want to really force yourself to look at you and who you are, record a podcast and then go back and listen to it multiple times. It's literally like putting a mirror in front of your face and just saying, look at all of your imperfections and now live with it and put it out there for anybody to listen to. Because I got to tell you, there were times where I hated the way I talked. I hated the way I was thinking. I hated how I reacted. So many just strong things that I was like, oh. So, and I remember when I'm doing this, sometimes thinking like, God, this must just be such a whip for Dad. Like, thank God he lets me take over and control everything and monopolize a conversation and talk too much and not listen enough. And I just thank you for the grace that you've shown and let me be who I am when we're doing this. But just know that I do go into it every time now committed to trying to be a better listener and share the floor and not overtake every situation. I think we all know, all of those people close to me in my life know that I am really good at just taking over. So I will continue to work on that and try to be better. But for now, we'll just have to wait and see. I think lastly, what I wanted to talk about was just again knowing what I've learned about you, knowing what I've learned about myself. I then take this to what I've learned about us. And I say and our relationship because it is a relationship. And one of the things that I think has been so lovely in having guests come on our show is to know that for so long, I just felt like we were so extreme and our life was so crazy, and that's why we were like, God, this is so entertaining, because while it's entertaining for others, there was a lot of hard and sad times for us that we lived through. But what I've learned now through doing this with you and having this time of meeting new people or reacquainting with old friends is that we all have our shit. We are all carrying baggage, and it's okay. And like, we get to be here and share with others so they can feel the same way I feel now, when I can sit here and go, "Whew, we're not the only ones. It's not just us." And I love that. I love having those moments, and I love sharing with other people. And and maybe offering a little bit of comfort or encouragement or guidance on what I think about their own situations and what they're working through. So I've loved that. I hope that you love that too. And I love our banter. I love catching up with you. I love hearing about how you will spend hours on the side of a road repairing an RV that breaks down every time you take a trip, and telling my friends about it that are considering buying an RV to just be ready. And I love reminiscing about our time on the water and our time when I was a kid, and hearing about the music that you're listening to and the concerts that you're going to, and in the same breath remembering the life that you gave me through all of those things. Because Dad, ultimately, I just feel so blessed and so grateful for my life and your role in my life. And as crazy and wild and dramatic and hard and scary as it was at times, it was really good. It is really good. And you had such an impactful role on me and who I am today, and the life that I got to have as a child, as a teenager, as a young adult, as a middle adulthood adult. And I'm just so grateful to you. And I'm so proud of us. And I'm so proud of what we have done together and what we have accomplished. And I know that you're going to listen to this, and I don't even know if I'm going to pre-edit this, because I kind of just want to hear it for the first time. But I hope I was able to communicate just how special this year has been to me, and how much I've loved getting to know you more, and how incredibly, incredibly fortunate I am to have you as my dad. And with that, I wanted to share with everybody the message you sent me on my birthday. And this, for everyone listening, this is just a glimpse at the man that I call Dad. You wrote, "Happy birthday, my beloved daughter. Oh, where do I start? My heart is full of love for you. Our connection has grown to a higher level that has surrounded my heart with warmth and a layer protecting my love, pride, and respect for you and your family. I am a lucky man and so proud of you. Thank you for the reflection pool you provide me, seeing my good and bad, and the hard work we have done, and working through the past and moving into the future. I am a lucky man having you by my side. Thank you, Jamie. Have a great day. Love, Dad." Ditto. Thank you for tuning in today. With so many podcasts out there, we are grateful you chose to spend your time with us.
And we'd love to hear from you. So send us your questions, comments, and feedback to info@twoclicksinapod.com, and we might feature your message in a future episode.
Also, don't forget to follow us on social, and head over to our YouTube channel where you can watch the full episode live and in living color. You can find us at 2 Clicks in a Pod. That's 2, as in the number, clicks in a pod.
Well, James, until next time, love you.
Love you too, Daddy.